Hello, everyone. A very warm welcome from SIBM Pune. We are coming to you virtually from our individual homes, and we are the members of Aspirant Relations team of SIBM Pune. So currently, we are all studying remotely and working remotely in this, VUCA world and world of disruption and whatever else they're calling it, right? So we have been conducting several events for you guys, and you must have attended some of them. And we it's our prerogative to get back to the aspirant community because we were in your shoes last year, and we contribute to our best capability so that you guys can get the full benefit. And knowledge and tips and tricks about Snap and SIBM Pune and everything related to it, right? So we thought that 2 days, 3 days before Snap, we'd come to you again and give out some of the D-Day trips that you should take care of when you're giving the exam and the final 2-3 days. So let's the first introduce ourselves, right? So I'm Vishakha Vaidyawan. And I'm a student of SIBM Pune first year, and I'm doing my MBA in HR. So a little bit about my background. I'm an engineer with a degree in IT, and I have worked in the IT industry for 3 years in a company. And then I came here to do my MBA and aspire for greener pastures here on with. So now my batchmate Jaykumar Purohit would like to introduce himself.
Hello, aspirants. My name is Jaykumar Purohit. So, let me give you a brief about my background. I have done my engineering from VJTI College in Mumbai, and I was the gold medalist of my batch. I have done my graduation in civil engineering. Post that, I have worked for around 15 months in the core construction industry. Currently, I am pursuing MBA in operations at SIBM Pune. Over to you, Vishakha.
Thank you, Jay. So now that you know a little bit about us and what we are and where we come from, so let's get right and to the chase, cut to the chase. So let's talk a little bit about Snap, which is there on 20th December. It's really, soon. It's almost here now. We've been talking about it for so long that, it seems like it's never going to happen, but finally it's here. So this year, you have seen that you're going to encounter a whole different pattern for the first time. Your batch is going to be the first one to face it, and it's not actually all bad at all. I think we were discussing just the other day that how it's actually beneficial for you guys. So let's first discuss the pattern a little bit, and then we'll talk about how to approach it and last minute tips and tricks and so on. So from 120 minutes, you guys get 60 minutes to attempt the examination. So everything from questions to time has been slashed almost in half. So in 60 minutes, you have to attend 60 questions, of which 15 are from general English, 25 are from LR, and the rest of the 20 questions are from Quant. And the marking scheme across the examination is constant. You get 1 mark for a right answer and 25% negative marks for a wrong answer, right? So that's what the pattern looks like. And I think now is the time when we should tell you a little bit about how we would approach it, what we did in our Snap, and how to go about it. So Jay, would you like to start?
Yeah, sure. So, yeah, let's get down to the business. So, what you would do on the day of the examination. So, let me break down into the different clusters. The major important thing is the time management. You need to manage your time very well when you're attempting SNAP exam. Historically, SNAP has been a time bound exam, and you all know this year you have 60 minutes, 60 questions. So, that bottles down to 1 minute per question. So you need to be very agile enough and plan accordingly. You need to make sure that you're investing good amount of time in the right questions and investing in the other areas. Also, don't get stuck at one section, meaning, for example, if there is a question and if I know that okay, I can do this question, but wasting 2 to 3 minutes or 4 minutes on one question is not suggested, especially in the exams like Snap. So make sure you don't do that. Also, since Snap doesn't have any sectional cutoff, so you can hover around as per your convenience based on your strengths and weaknesses. So do take advantage of that. Vishaka, do you like to add more to it?
Yeah, so adding to your last point here, so don't get this opportunity in every exam to play around with the pattern and identify how you would like to best approach it. So you can identify exactly how much time you would like to invest in each section, and that depends on what you can do fast and in what section you need some more time. So you're completely free to navigate all the three sections on your own throughout these 60 minutes. There is no sectional time limit or even sectional cutoff. So that really plays to your advantage. Okay, so now I'll like to give some of the suggestions of my own, which I thought that I'd share with you guys. So what happens when we are approaching an exam which we have been preparing for so long, that we tend to imagine our lives, as and when we have cleared this exam, we'll do this and we'll do that. But rarely do we ever think about what happens if we fail in this exam, what happens if we don't clear it this time. So I think that let go of all of that stress. Do not let it weigh on your shoulders or in your mind when you're giving an exam, because that is the best way to ruin an exam, a perfectly good exam. So do not do that. Do not think about what's going to happen. Just think of it as another mock exam which you're just sitting for without any expectations of any result. At least that's what I did. Whenever I approach something which is something big that I'm aspiring to, I always try to have a backup plan, so that my mind is always secure that okay, even if I fail, I have a safety net. So in my case, I knew that okay, I'm going to find a job. It's not a difficult task, the whole world does it, so what's so big in finding a job? I'll find a job, maybe I'll prepare again, maybe I'll even just grow in my job. So I always had this in my mind, that I do not want to get stressed out on the last day and just hinge all the hopes of my life on this one exam and one day, because that is a very bad way to take a lot of pressure. So that is one thing. Also, during the exam, panicking is something that can ruin your exam, because what happens is you're already so stressed and panicked that if you can't solve the first few questions, you just go into that mode. Okay, this is not my day, this is not my year, and I'm just going to give this exam and get out of here, and it's not going to happen. So don't think like that. Panicking is normal, nervousness is normal, but not to the extent that it's riding your mind and you are ruining your exam for it. So don't do that. And I think to chill out, the best way is to not do anything new in the last few days. So what I did was, in the on the last day at least, I watched a few episodes of my favorite series, to chill. Or some of you would like to meet some friends, and that's perfectly okay, because it's important to get back to reality and put your feet on the ground before you are attempting such an important exam. So that is something that I would suggest that you do. Other than that, what you can do academically, that also we're going to tell you. But this is something that I just wanted to share, personally also. Also, we have been seeing a lot of lockdowns, a lot of disruptions. So just try to locate your centers if possible one day in advance, so that on the D-Day you do not end up missing your exam because you could not reach your centers. So that is, the last D-Day do's and don'ts from my end. I think
Well,
we can,
Vishaka, you
yeah.
have connected it very well. The main idea behind this is to maintain your composure and calmness during the examination day. So I remembered ruining one of my B school entrance examination because I couldn't maintain my calm due to the paper pressure, seeing the questions. So that kind of was a lesson for me. I learned from it, and then I applied it when I gave my snap, and I did pretty well in my exam. So yeah, let's now get down into the deeper sections part, or I would say individual sections in the exam. So while I was preparing for the V school entrance exam and when I gave snap, quants was my forte. So I used to do very well in quants and I used to enjoy it. So things came out naturally from my end. So not much preparation was required to me in quants, and it also helped me. So how I strategized during the D day was I did 5 to 6 questions in quants, which kind of gave me that rhythm to perform. And then I moved to the RC. So verbal was my weak section, honestly telling. So then I moved to the verbal VARC section, solved a few RCs. I solved one RC, Then I move back to the quants to again bring that rhythm back, to bring that energy, and then I move to the LR section. So this kind of, because snap exam provides you the leverage of switching between the sections and doing every section as per your convenience. So I think this, I took the major advantage of that thing, and it worked pretty well for me. I switched between the sections and I could solve all the questions, majority of the questions, I would say, even the easier and the tough ones. Second thing that I would suggest you would be, first go for the easy questions, because obviously you don't have to fight with someone that after the exam you're telling your friends, okay, I did the toughest one. No one is going to recognize that. All you need is good marks and good percentile to get into your dream B school. So make sure you catch the low hanging fruits first, then move to the tougher ones. So how this would help you would be, you can solve that easy ones in say 20 or 30 seconds, and then you can invest that 30 seconds in some another question. The sections like LR, so there are the circular arrangements, linear arrangements, series questions, which personally, when I was doing my snap, I used to take time in that. So what I did, I took the time from my quant section and I invested that in my LR section. So in this way, I could balance between all the sections. My friend Vishakha here, for her, quants, verbal is her forte. So let's hear from Vishakha.
Thank you, Jay, and that is an amazing strategy to have. But mine was a little different. So, as he said, verbal was my strongest point, followed by LR, and then followed by quant. So my strategy was to just completely, dive into my favorite section right when the exam started. So I almost all of my exams I started with verbal, and it gave me the confidence to do well in the further section. So it acts as a positive feedback loop, and it feeds you with positivity if you can perform well in one section which was also your favorite and something that you can score a lot in, and then you go with that rigor into the other sections and you nail them as well. So that is something that I prefer to do, and I practice this a lot in my mocks. So when I was giving my mocks, I made it a point to look at the time that I'm investing in each section and the kind of score that I'm getting. So I formed the strategy that first I would go for verbal and invest this much time, then in LR and invest this much time, and then finally whatever I can attempt in quant. So that really worked in my favor, and I was able to do well in the exam, I think, because I was strictly timing myself at all times. I did not let myself, waver for even a minute here and there. So if my time was up for a section, I would give it up and then move on to the next section and do it for the allotted amount of time. So, don't you get stuck in one question and invest a lot of time and lose time over there, like Jay said. That is a good way to ruin a perfectly good exam. So that is one tip that I would like to give you from my end. And even if quant was not my best section, I made it a point to practice some topics like arithmetics, which are very popular in the snap exam, which come with a lot of weightage. So I did those topics in quant and I revised the formulas. I just recall the tips and tricks that I'd learned from my class, so that I can attempt at least the easier questions. So my strategy in quant, which I was not good at, was I would browse through the questions, look at the easier questions, attempt them, solve them, and then go for the medium range questions. So I did most of my preparation through mocks only at the end, and then revised a few questions from my notes, and that was all. So I would suggest that you don't completely antagonize your weak sections and just attempt it with full heart but with low expectations. So don't be like, if you are not being able to solve questions in that section, you're going to not make it. With, I think, with even two strong sections, you can do very well in this examination. So those are some chief tips and tricks from my end. Anything that Jay you would like to add?
Yeah. So as Vishaka covered, never leave any section. For example, though I was weak in verbal, but that didn't like made me do that. I will completely leave the RC or the grammar or the vocab part. I did the basics of them. I solved a good amount of RCs because it was my weakness. I worked on it a lot. And for someone for whom quants is their weakness, I would suggest them do the basics of everything. Revise all the formulas so that at least on the day of the examination, if you're seeing the questions which are directly formula based, which you can directly solve using the formula, you are not losing on the marks, because it might be possible that on particular day, verbal, which is your strength, verbal may turn out to be the tough one and quant would be the easy one. And obviously it is a percentile and not the percentage, so your percentile also depends upon how your peers are performing. So make sure that you are grabbing those marks which are easy catching, or I would say low hanging fruits, as I mentioned. Make sure you work on everything. So that's another tip from my side. Vishakha,
Absolutely,
over to
Jay.
you.
I completely agree with what you said. Because you might get a shock or a surprise when you go into the exam and you find that the section that you are most prepared for is the one which is the most difficult. Because it happens sometimes that things don't go your way, but still don't give up. Attempt it to the best of your abilities, and then look for the other sections because perhaps they are easier than the toughest section of the exam. And sometimes it happens. It has happened with some of our batchmates. Jay, we were having a conversation the other day, and one of our batchmates said that he was so good in quant and he was just hell-bent on nailing that section in the snap, but to his surprise that he found more difficult than verbal, and he ended up scoring the most in verbal section. So these things happen, and still on the D day you can change or tweak your strategy a little bit, but if you are in a lot of practice of doing your strategy, that will help you. I mean, it won't be that big a deal. So even this can happen, and you must be thoroughly prepared for it. Other than that, I think in verbal, I would like to give you some tips. For example, for vocab, what you can do in the last 2 3 days is just go through the word list which you have prepared, right? When I was preparing, so I had this list of words which I kept on building when I was reading or when I was doing an RC, and I found a difficult word. I was in the habit of writing it down so that in the end moment I can revise it. But if you do not have such a source, try to borrow from a friend or go to internet and find sources like Barron's 800 words, or there are some apps on Android also, which give you quizzes, 10 questions or 15 questions a day. So even now you can browse through some of these popular words. So that is something that you can do. And grammar, you can always go back to the basics and just revise prepositions and their behavior, and tenses and all of these things which might come in those finding the error questions. Of course, RC, you just have to be really focused in the exam and do not let the outside environment change your motivation or your focus. So do not let it deter you. Just be very focused, and for that 1 hour you just have to give your 100%, right? So do not let your mind get distracted if someone's talking around you, if the invigilator is talking a lot, or getting those papers to you for signing and all. So it happens to everyone. That disturbance is there for everyone, and of course it's percentile, so it's your cumulative performance on that day, and not just your score or the percentage. So that is something that I wanted to dish out for English. Yeah.
Yeah, so for LR as well as for quants, some tips that I would like to give you, the do's. So there are certain questions which has a relation between alphabet and numbers. So it sometimes becomes handy when you write those in your rough sheet. So you can use that thing. Also, there are certain formulas that you can write on your rough sheet that you can use it later. It comes handy. Also, I would suggest in quant sometimes you can you can get the answers from the options. So be wise on that day. Read the question and check the options. Don't just go ahead to solve the question. Sometimes the answer just can be found out by looking the options and option elimination technique, which is called. So you can use that. So it comes very handy, and it helped me personally when I gave my snap 2019. So yeah, that was something from my side.
I think we have unloaded a lot of tips and tricks on the aspirants, and right now is the time for them to, just gear up for the examination and not worry a lot about a lot of things. So that is something that we, wanted to do from our end when you're going for your snap. So it's coming really soon, and from the aspirant relations team of SIBM Pune, we would like to wish you all the very best for the examination, guys. Do your absolute best, and this might just be the year when you end up in your dream B school, right? Okay.
Good luck, guys. Good luck to all the aspirants out there. Do well in your exam, and we hope to see you in the further processes.
Thank you.